Everything around us is design, except us. Well, maybe God's design.
See that too, right?
Well,
looking
at myself in the mirror, it cannot be God's design, but something beyond our influence.
Yeah.
So if you look at the shirt, if you look at this,
everything.
If you look at this microphone, if you look at the camera, beautiful
and the room
design.
and this building,
every little thing is design.
It was here, right hand head. Make sure it goes 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So.
But what we did, it was Karine Guizot who designed the costumes, and we asked her to do costumes between quite normal that are just almost like normal clothes, or costumes that actually enhance the choreography, that give something extra, or costumes that are totally restrictive. And this was a very hysterical, very entertaining undertaking.
Wonderful. She did a really good job.
Yeah. And you could see the creativity of the dancers, how it tickles their fantasy and what they can do with that. So that was really, really exciting.
You have your thing on.
One choreography, one piece, 8 different costumes, 8 different interpretations. Once the costume went on, it had a real powerful effect on the choreography, on the performance of the dancers. And then the costume itself had a life. It took on a life that was sometimes quite unexpected. I found it very interesting.
I made a costume with paper that comes from India, that is handmade. And for me, it looks very poetic. And I could imagine when she tried, also she's very beautiful. And when she tried, she made very slow things and it moved very, I don't know, I would have gone into that direction. And then when she came here, she had to move like very fast. And I'm very surprised that it could work actually to become what it's becoming because of the choice he made, which is good because it's not the choice I would have made, and then it's going a very particular direction, which is creating something, which is totally different, and that's really great.
I think we spent more time first with the choreography, and then, just first creating it actually, and we worked with the music, but not yet so much that we were aware of the costume or that the choreography had to fit the costume, anything like this. It came after, actually. So then, with the costume, it somehow surprised me, or also Kylian and Karine, everybody, because some things came out that we didn't expect or think would happen before. So that was interesting.
See how the combination of the same choreography, but a different dancer with different personality, and a costume that is either enhancing the movement or restricting the movement, is really fascinating.
Yeah.
And I must say that, when we saw them all individually with the different costumes, it was quite
It was hysterical. It became in itself. It was a combination fashion show and dance concert. And it took on the element of also very expositional featured performance art. It had some other quality in it. So it took the choreography into another realm, actually. Just the costume itself.
But try holding it, I guess, now. Actually, that's the nice point. I wish there we have more time, that it's to see, what he asks them to do and the limitation of what costume brings, and to change things, and also it's interesting dance-wise. To see that what it can become.
Yeah, and it's also funny to see how easily you can build a character based on a costume, and of course you know that, but we never really play with it, or I never really tried.
No.
And for example, with you especially, you immediately become a kind of animal, but not really, because it's not recognizable what it is. but you want to hug him all the time because he's soft. But it's the same guy, so it's really funny how you can create this new dimension just with a costume. That's a new discovering phase. Like first you just learn the steps and you just learn, and you're not busy with what it's going to look like. That's right. And we all do the same, and now in the end we're all going to do something very different because of the costume.
To try to disconnect from your first own impulse, it means if you look at an object and you say what first inspires you to do with this, maybe to try to go somewhere completely different. So to trigger your own thoughts and your first natural way of thinking and feeling, that it can be much broader. I don't try to adapt to it, I think that's the thing of this process also. It's like you have these ingredients and what comes from there, and use this limitation to... Because I think, in a way, you could see that limitation is freedom. I mean, you find your freedom within limitations.
It brings another freedom, I guess, another perspective, or more in an artistic way than in a dancing way.
I don't know, I think it's true that the costume gives a freedom in the interpretation of the audience, maybe more than for me. It's more limiting for me than that it's... But of course, because you have to adjust to the costume, you also think in a different way, because you cannot do everything in a normal way, so you have to adjust your movements, so you're less fixed in your mindset, which is actually a freedom. So yeah, that's both ways.
I think it brings them also the joy of creation, because it's of being how we work. Or I can imagine sometimes as students they can have lots of stress also, and it's nice to see that it can be, we're still enjoying, and we communicate and we laugh a lot. So that's, I hope one good thing. Actually, that's one thing with Jiri that I always felt also in his company. It's not like you have to suffer to make good things or to discover.
I think it was a lot of fun. We laughed a lot, and it was a nice process, a nice experience. Yeah, really special.
Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. Marcial en el contrabajo, Abelito en el bombo, también la tumba, la paita y un poquitico de voz. Le siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón. Reinando también las claves y René percusionista menor. Luisito está gozando, tocando su trompetón. También toca buen cencerro y bien solista, común y corriente soy. También resueno las bailas con sentimiento y amor. Y ahora que nos conoces, podemos gustarte o no. Pero te digo que sangre te canta de corazón. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el hombro, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Le siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y René el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el hombro, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Le siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y René el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el hombro, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Le siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y René el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el hombro, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Le siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y René el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, no las bailas con sentimiento y amor. Y ahora que nos conoces, podemos gustarte o no. Pero te digo que sangre te canta de corazón. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el bombo, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Que siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y reina el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el bombo, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Que siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y reina el percusionista menor. Allá en el 89 un grupito se formó y la gente no creía que era todo con la voz. María en el contrabajo, Abelito en el bombo, también la tumba, la baila y un poquitico de voz. Que siguen reinando las trompetas y el trombón, reinando también las claves y reina el percusionista menor. Ahora que nos conoces, podemos gustarte o no. Pero te digo que sangre te canta de corazón. Te lo digo yo.
I really think nowadays people don't laugh enough, you know. I think it's quite a problem. And I just tell you a little story with my grandmother. It was many years back, and we had a dinner, and after the dinner, she started laughing and laughed like crazy. And then I started laughing, my wife started laughing. We laughed for about 5 minutes. Nobody knew why. And then she said, well, that's fine, that's enough. At least 5 minutes a day, you should laugh. Yeah, so I'm glad that we spent this time having a really good time, good fun, and I was very impressed how you have worked, how the costumes looked, and how you took initiative to make something out of the choreography, which is tricky enough as it is, but with the costume it becomes pretty crazy. And I was impressed really with your imagination, with your fantasy, and with your willingness to experiment on really silly things that actually don't mean anything, but they're just really good fun, and it prepares you to all kinds of eventualities which you might encounter in your lives, because it's not assured that if you join a company somewhere that you will be dancing good choreography. And it is really, it is simply like that. And you should learn how to cope with bad choreography, what you can learn from bad choreography. There are always ways that you can take for yourself by approaching it in a different way, being positive, and try to learn something out of bad choreography. My teacher taught me that, and she wrote me a whole letter about how to deal with bad choreography and with bad choreographers and with bad costumes for that matter. Yeah? Because certainly we had our fair share dancing some crazy stuff that we didn't believe in, but still you have to be professional, and still you have to take something out of that for yourself. So this is for introduction. And thanks. I had a wonderful time with you.
No, I don't have much more to say. Just thank you, and it was just beautiful to see how you also took it into the performance, that you really connected, and you took it beyond the choreography, beyond the costume. I was very, very impressed with that. Thank you. Wonderful.
Absolutely, performance.
Yeah. Great performers. Yeah. Any maybe yourselves? Any comments or questions or things that you'd like to talk about?
The choreography became, how do you say, something that I used to perform. It was a tool, not the result of it, especially with the costume. That was interesting, to also to feel the difference between the previous 2 times and then the one with costume. It was totally another feeling, another sensation that was coming up. It was great.
I noticed, I thought, strangely enough, in the past 2 days, seeing the costumes and watching you work with them and practice with them, I think that the most surprising in the performance was done, because he had the most normal costume, but the transformation between today's rehearsal and today was extreme. And it was the way you took it and created a whole character with it, which surprised me, because I didn't expect that. I thought you would just do the choreography straight and we would see it in its most, whatever normal means, its most normal form. So that was also surprising. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, and
it's quite nice.
Dan, when he has to be disciplined, it's really difficult for him. But then he can make, when he's dancing by himself, he can make as many mistakes as he likes. And sells it really, really expensive.
No, because I saw everybody doing his own thing, because they had like a really different costume. So I was like, what can I do? What makes me special? So at the last moment, I was like, okay, I have to really put something on the show,
Yeah. Completely right. Absolutely. Yes. I think it's a wonderful gift that we have been given, wonderful present, because we don't have to be ourselves on stage. We can be other personalities. We can be other things, and this costume gives this present to you. You can become somebody else, and this is the wonderful thing of theater. I really, really always enjoy that moment of incarnation, of becoming something else. Such a beauty. And how was it dancing in a box?
Well, I don't think maybe it was the most challenging, because we all have some challenges. But in the beginning, in my head was like, okay, so I'm going to stand on the floor and then just do nothing. But as long as I was keep researching on the costume and the movement with your help, I could find actually a lot of movement and dancing. Yeah. And probably if I would spend 3 more days on this, I would do like turns and jumps with this.
Next weekend.
Next
Friday,
week,
yes,
yeah.
Another chance.
Yeah, the beginning was quite hard, but then it was fun. Yeah. Fun in the end, just fun.
Yeah, and more details showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
As well, things I hadn't noticed before, like the little ribbon bow tie in the back piece. When you turned at one point, it became very clear. Did you notice that, the detail?
I haven't seen it, never myself. Yes, I just took a picture today, and I was really impressed by the costume, but never before.
You didn't see it before.
But you were very exact. You kept the choreography exactly with the costume, but absolutely to the detail. incredible.
Yeah, the funny thing is that first I was thinking, what can I do to make it different? Because with my costume it was a bit hard. Like, it was not so restricting for me. I didn't feel it so much. So I was like, everybody's doing something else to, well, because of the costume actually. But I didn't have that, so I thought, what is it that makes it special or different? And actually, I thought it's the costume itself, the lines that it makes. It already creates another vision that it was before when I did it without the costume. So in a way, that was what made it special, is the costume itself that changed it.
By working with those three fantastic human beings, I've been also inspired by the use of music. I mean, honestly, also by the costume, by the use of music, and now actually probably I'm gonna hear each single song and the piece of music differently, or look for those details that you see or hear naturally. It was very, very amazing for me just to say it.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice to know.
One more?
Yes. Make sure.
Yeah.